Hello, what is going on, everybody out there? Happy Wednesday. Happy first day of the Biden administration. A very, very big day for America indeed. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, depending on what side, today was either a really good day or a really bad day. But hopefully you had a good day outside of politics. It has been pretty good for me myself. I've just been kind of working, staying busy. A lot of you guys might have missed me this morning for I planned on doing a inauguration live stream, but unfortunately I got a little busy. So I kind of do this live stream thing as it's like a hobby for me. It's kind of like a fun thing. I love talking politics, and I kind of love talking politics from my own independent perspective and being able to say whatever I want to say without having to worry about who I'm going to piss off, even my own audience. Like today's been an interesting day for me because I've recently got on Twitter. If you actually, it's kind of fun. Last week I told a bunch of people, hey, follow me on Twitter, and I actually did get a bunch of people follow me on Twitter. If you are into Twitter yourself, yeah, do me a favor, give me a follow. Citizen Pete 101 or just at Citizen Pete 101. Look, I am live there right now. Hello to myself. What's going on, man? But yeah, I found myself in a little bit of a Twitter shitstorm today after I, there were, Biden, basically Trump extended protection for his kids for the next 6 months, Secret Service protection. So, and I was kind of like, honestly, I think that's, I'm not too bothered by that. I mean, obviously, they're, leeching off the federal government. They're making money by charging them to stay at their own properties. But in general, I'm like, look, I don't have it's a good thing that the president and the president's kids, won't be assassinated. And especially if you consider history there, because if Trump's kids were assassinated, that would maybe help his agenda out quite a bit. So to me, it's okay, maybe that's a good thing that, that's not going to happen. But I pissed off a lot of people because I said a good thing about Donald Trump. And there's one thing, unfortunately, nowadays, you're not allowed to say anything good about Trump whatsoever. Or anything bad about Obama, but thankfully, that's one of the reasons why I want to do this show, is so I could kind of say whatever I want to, not really worry about the repercussions from either side. As Biden gets ready to take office, I'll definitely be criticizing him more because, hey, that's what you're supposed to do, right? We're not here to build up the president. We're supposed to challenge him and challenge the things he does. But if you haven't already, do me a favor, subscribe to Citizen Pete. I'd very much appreciate it. And you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. But with that said, let's get into the show, shall we? Oh, but before we get to that, today I am enjoying a nice glass of whiskey, rye whiskey, my favorite. It is Slow and Low. It's good stuff here, It's a nice way to wrap up the day, y'all. Now that I've given my little endorsement, let's get into the show. So as Donald Trump now becomes a former president, it's time to look back on his legacy. And he, of course, was very popular for saying MAGA, right? Make America Great Again. It was a slogan small enough that you could fit on a hat, which is just perfect for America, right? And the question is, as Trump leaves office, did he make America great again? And the answer is no. He did not make America great again. And it's a question of when was America great, because depending on your skin tone, maybe America has had some problems for a long time. But he's definitely taken it from America first to America last, or America alone. And if that sounds like a bit of a jump, let's do a quick history lesson here. So back in the day, in the 70s, Germany lost a lot of respect around the world with the 1972 Munich crisis. Even after 2 world wars, people kind of really respected this idea of German engineering, right? It is German precision. Well, in 1972, terrorists took Palestinians hostages. Palestinian terrorists kidnapped Israeli athletes and held them hostage at the 1972 Munich Games. Now, this was a horribly run operation that played out on live TV for the first time. The people weren't used to watching things live on TV back then. And this ended with 17 dead, including the hostages and a German police officer. But again, this event ended this idea of, German exceptionalism, right? Of German just precision. I mean, before that, even after the World Wars, people thought Germans were pretty smart. And in that hostage crisis, it came out that they actually, when they had this, their whole plan was to have like they were going to stop them at the airport before they left, and they were going to try to ambush them and save the hostages. And what really happened was German officers were shooting at each other. And this all played out on live TV. And it really kind of ended that thought of American exceptionalism. Here in the U.S., we've lost nearly 400,000 to the COVID-19 pandemic, leading the world by far in deaths and new cases. We've engaged in mostly useless trade wars. We've backed leaders like Putin and Kim Jong-un while challenging our own friends and not being there like we should. We've also backed out of agreements like the Iran nuclear deal and the Paris Climate Agreement. And to top it all off, it ended with Trump's presidency ended with an insurrection at the Capitol that played out on the world on live television, with a man even putting his feet on the desk of Nancy Pelosi. Now, you might not really care about Nancy Pelosi, but she is the third most powerful person in our government. And so what I'm thinking is that this Trump era, what it has really done is ended the idea of American exceptionalism. The idea that you can count on America, the idea that America was that, shining city on a hill, we've kind of showed for the whole world, maybe we're not. Maybe you can't count on America like you used to. And if you think that's total bullshit, if you think, all right, that's just a stretch there, that's just some partisan politics, I want you to take a look at this article. See, this article, and I can blow it up a little bit bigger for you. This is an article about the European Union and China reaching an agreement in principle on investment. Basically, what has happened here is China has decided that the United States cannot be counted on the European Union has said the United States can't be counted on like it once was. And so now they're trying to get better economic ties with China as we still figure out the coronavirus pandemic. And so Trump has unfortunately again into this idea of American exceptionalism. Foreign leaders have always had to deal with different presidents in the United States, but, Trump has shown that the U.S. can't be fully counted upon, especially not when things change so drastically every 4 years. You just don't know what you're going to get. So that's kind of where I see things, and that's what I see as the lasting legacy of Trump. But as with Germany, eventually they did become a leader again. The European Union is basically led by Germany. And so not all hope is lost. We can come back from this. And Biden is getting a head start by apparently spending $500,000 to deep clean the White House after the inauguration. Not exactly sure when that $500,000 deep cleaning was started, but I assume it's done now because Biden is officially in the White House. But yes, they have spent $500,000 to try to remove this stain from our democracy. The question is, will it be successful? We'll just have to wait and see. But I personally still believe America is exceptional. I believe this is like a special place. So I'm hoping the last 4 years are just a blip on the radar. But now the ball is definitely in Biden's court. Hey, what's going on? Checking on with some of your comments here. Serpent Text 19, cool name, dog. Yes, today has been awesome. I mean, it's definitely a day that people have been waiting years for. So yes, it has been awesome. Also, Kirby, hi. I'll send you a quick hi too. Hello. Hope you guys are doing well. I mean, today was definitely a day that people should kind of reflect on and just be happy. I mean, it's just a happy day, right? I mean, there's been a lot of chaos for the last 4 years in politics. A lot of it, because of Trump and just, it's been a very chaotic time in American history. And so it's always nice with an inauguration to kind of feel a little bit of just hope for the future, right? Like we've had this, and that's why some of this inauguration stuff is so important to have a bipartisan kind of showing for the rest of the country that people could argue with each other for months and months in bitter campaign battles, but when it's all said and done, come together for the good of the country and try to move on, right? And that's hopefully what is going to happen here. I doubt it a little bit looking at the political tea leaves, but hey, I'm hopeful too. I very much love Inauguration Day. So as we kind of move forward throughout the show, Biden is wasting no time in turning the page on the Trump administration. But before we get into that, quick little history lesson on Biden. A lot of people are kind of upset about Obama not really bringing about the change that a lot of people wanted. People thought they would get, Obama ran on this concept of hope and change. And a lot of people are upset when, frankly, it didn't really happen, And the reason for that was Obama really only had 2 years where Democrats ran the Congress, where they had both houses of the Senate and the House, where they had complete power to do whatever they want. After those first years of the Obama administration, it all came down to executive actions, right? Obama had to do executive actions to go around Congress and increase the power of the executive branch. The problem with doing that is basically when Trump came into power, all he had to do was take his pen out and get rid of all the stuff that Obama did. And now that Biden is starting his first day in office, he is doing the same thing by trying to remove Trump as much as he can with his signature. And so as we scroll through some here, see some of the things that Biden has signed into executive actions, or signed executive orders on. The first thing is the COVID-19 response, starting a 100-day masking challenge and calling on nationwide face mask and social distancing mandate at federal buildings. Again, he is limited by some of the powers and things that he can do. But hey, masks are coming to a place near you if you haven't had them already. Also trying to restructure the federal government coordination to the COVID-19 pandemic and rejoining the World Health Organization, which I think is awesome. They've gotten a lot of criticism throughout this pandemic. I think somewhat unfair. I mean, this is a unprecedented health crisis, and maybe they should have done more to, try to tell people about what was going on. But really, this all falls down on the Trump administration, who kind of didn't listen to them. Also, there's financial relief for Americans, so extending eviction and foreclosure moratoriums, which is also good. Continuing to pause student loan payments until September 30th. So if any of you guys are paying student loans now, you won't have to for a little while. Rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, which is a very big thing. Like I said, it's kind of hard as I mentioned in my previous segment, it's a little bit hard to count on the United States when our priorities shift so drastically from one leader to the next. And so it's nice to see that we are getting back to that agreement that we were a big part of getting signed in the first place. Also, ending the Keystone XL pipeline, which honestly I didn't know that was still going on, still a thing, but big win for environmentalists there. Human rights, actions to advance racial equality through the federal government, counting non-citizens in the U.S. Census again, which I think is important. I mean, if you might not agree that we should include them, but hey, the thing is, like, they're still going to be in this country, and they're still going to be, doing things in this country, and we should count them because it helps us to figure out where people are at and what people are doing in the United States. So that's a good thing. I mean, the census shouldn't be a political deal anyway. Strengthen workplace discrimination protections, which is also good. We should be doing that. And the big one that I've seen that I do like is this Defending the Dreamers Act, right? And of course, is ending the Muslim travel ban here. Changing arrest priorities for immigration at the border, so stopping this child separation policy, which is also awesome. Ending the border wall construction, keeping protections for librarians. I don't know. I have a horrible time pronouncing things. But this is a big thing that I have a problem with some of these executive actions. I mean, it might not seem like a big of a deal to you that we kind of go back and forth on some things. But if you're a dreamer and you literally have been living in fear, you basically, with the Obama administration, if you remember, they signed up with the dreamers to try and to basically get some sort of protection. And these are, again, folks who were brought to the country by their parents under no ill will of their own. and unfortunately have been punished for that. When the Trump administration came in and they basically had all their information right there on paper. And so they've basically gone from, having hope that they would eventually be accepted into American society to, again, living in fear, which is not good. So I'm glad that they have fixed that. Also, there is a last-minute freezing of Trump's administration's regulatory actions. And the last thing, ethics, formulated an executive branch ethics doctrine, which, maybe doesn't seem to have a ton of teeth there reading it. But again, changing priorities in the Biden administration. And that's good. That's a first step for, kind of moving the country forward from some of Trump's things. It's good that Biden does have the option to just take his pen out and, sign these things and kind of immediately move our country forward. But it is a sign that our country isn't working when one president can just kind of unilaterally take control and kind of do whatever he wants to get rid of whatever the previous administration done. It's not a good way to govern when there's, things can just shift so drastically from one administration to the next. But that is my own personal take on it. And as we move throughout the show, we can get into the next story here. So I don't know how to break it to Trump's fans out there, the MAGA crowd. But I want to take a moment for people who are just now waking up after, maybe being in a dream, or for some of us, it's been a nightmare for the last 4 years. And they seem to have a hard time accepting this new Biden administration. Let's head to Twitter, good old Parlor Takes. And this guy has the real question, were we duped by Trump? The answer is yes. Yes, you have been duped. There's also parents out there that are struggling with reality, having to basically explain to their children, as this woman did with her husband. They were made to be a fool in front of their 17-year-old daughter. Both stayed home from work so they could read EO and 1776. My heart absolutely broke. I just feel so mind-fucked. Basically, they thought the storm was coming, and the storm never showed up. Also, I'm not sure exactly what website this is from, but I thought this was pretty funny. Basically asking, can the military step in now? I assume they were live posting this during the inauguration this morning. Mods, please explain why Biden isn't arrested yet, because there's nothing to arrest him for. Also, so what date do we wait for now? So instead of kind of seeing the light, they're getting ready to double down on some of the chaos there as we move right along. And this one was very surprising to me. Even the Proud Boys are starting to get it. Saying Trump revoked Executive Order 13770, which was an executive order that banned executive branch employees from becoming lobbyists for 5 years. So nobody who actually deserved it was pardoned, but Trump has made it easier for him to lobby. Great. Yes, so even the Proud Boys are starting to wake up and see what is going on. Better late than never, I say. Also, this is another fun one here. So can we finally acknowledge that all the people making the thousands of videos who claim to have inside info and told us to trust the plan were a bunch of devious fucking liars who should be viewed as snakes in the grass? Yes, they absolutely should be. Again, people kind of don't realize that there's so many folks out there who are spewing some of these lies and misinformation to make a quick buck off of you. And some people, hey, they just like the likes, I mean, hey, I like likes, but I try not to spread bullshit out there. The last one, and I actually just from person to person, I hope this is fake. I hope this is not real. But this guy, let's see the name there, Hopium Please, said he lost his entire life savings betting on Trump. Everything I've saved since I was 18. I'm freaking out. Is there more to come? I'm scared. What did we do wrong? And, just from one person to another person. I mean, I view a lot of these people as, basically being in a cult, and now they're just kind of waking up from it and realize they've lost everything. And from person to person, I gotta say, I kind of feel bad for them a little bit. Now all these people have been waiting for a storm that essentially never came. Just in case you're unfamiliar with Q conspiracies, the storm was the day when Trump was supposed to arrest half of the government on pedophilia charges and have the military take control of the United States. And instead, this happened. Yes, Trump basically just left town on Air Force One, and there was no storm. There was no arrests. Biden took the oath of office, and it is in the White House as we speak. So now is the time to reach out to those Q supporters or Trump supporters, whether they be friends or family, and say those magical words, "I told you so." And a lot of all this came because people want to be right. It's kind of been funny to watch the conspiracy theorists out there just kind of double down on their claims. And the thing is that, for a lot of people, it's about being right. It's not about being correct. And there are people who are just stuck on either side of the aisle, right? I mean, on the right, the storm had to happen. It could not happen, or that meant the leftist liberals were right. It didn't matter about who was correct, what the truth actually was there, but things are so divided now that people are just going to believe any bullshit they see because it backs up their side of the aisle, which is just a horrible way to look at things. And hopefully that ends with Trump's administration, but we'll see. Yo, what's up? Checking out some of the comments here. Tames M, cool name, bro. Woo, Trump won, baby. Look, man, I don't want to. I don't know if you saw what happened today. I don't want to be the person to tell you this. I'm sorry, I have to be the person to tell you this, but Trump lost. I'm sorry. It's okay. Maybe you can vote for him in 2024. We'll see. Yahoo. I don't know if that's supposed to be Yahoo or Yo. Yeah, it's supposed to be Yo. Black Cowboy. Yeah. That's a cool name, actually. I like Black Cowboy. Wow. It's like, that Old Town Road kind of song. Black Cowboy. What's up, man? Hey, while you guys are here, yeah, man, thanks for checking out the show. Maybe subscribe to the channel. Very much appreciate it. And comment. Let me know if you agree, disagree. I kind of like what people are thinking out there, and I don't want to just be, I like to hear from other sides, right? It's always very interesting to me. And hey, comment with what beverage you might be sipping on now. That's probably one of the more important things. Again, I'm enjoying some rye whiskey, good old fine, slow and low. If you haven't had slow and low yet, it is incredible. It is so good. It is amazing. You really got to try it out. It is one of my favorites. I mean, it's kind of on the sweeter end, but it's not too sweet, but not too bitter. Slow and low, just right. Yeah, come sponsor me. That'd be dope. All right, let's keep moving throughout the show. So on his way out, Trump, on his way out of Washington, the now former President Trump, it's got a nice little ring to it, right? Had one last screw you to America. No, it wasn't the long list of pardons, including Steve Bannon, which is just the craziest, most hilarious shit for anyone who thought Trump was really out to drain the swamp. Because if you remember, Steve Bannon was accused of ripping off Trump supporters for the build the wall bullshit. Apparently he allegedly collected donations saying they were going to the wall, but turns out they were more about getting Steve Bannon on a yacht. Well, it doesn't matter though, because unfortunately for Mr. Bannon, Trump only has the power to pardon people for federal crimes, meaning that in any of the states where someone contributed, they could just file charges there. And since it is an online thing, they can just file charges wherever they want. Now, Trump's last bullshit move was to make sure his lackeys could get jobs. And I found this, so I pulled this webpage up. I saved this webpage up earlier, getting ready for the show here. And this is one of Trump's executive orders that has been taken off of the WhiteHouse.org website. And basically what this executive order was, it was one of the good things Trump actually did in his presidency. When he first took office, he created this executive order that would require appointees to sign a pledge that they won't become lobbyists for 5 years after they leave the White House. Essentially, what the swamp really is folks who go in government and then they make contacts with all these inside government officials and they kind of connect with lobbyists. They vote a certain way, and these basically they get paid whenever they get out of Congress. I used to live in New Mexico, and there was a senator who lost their race. It was a big bummer for them. And then they got a job with, I think, Boeing paying them $500,000 a year or something like that to sit in an office chair and do nothing. But that's essentially the swamp. And it was kind of a good thing that Trump had the executive order on that, but again, he just rescinded it. But thanks to the power of Twitter, the executive order itself has been saved, so we can check out the exact wording of it. But again, on his last night in the White House, Trump signed an executive order revoking that ban, basically saying that, hey, if you want, you can get lobbying jobs. And so he just, basically said, hey, let's give up on draining that swamp. And so can we now just finally agree that for Trump, it was never about draining the swamp? That's just something he said on the campaign. I mean, he filled his cabinet full of swamp members, right? And has been doing swampy type shit the last 4 years. And again, lobbying is how the swamp works. And Trump has basically done as he's done with a lot of things. He's like, he does one thing here, but really he's doing something else here. It's like all those folks who applaud Trump for donating his salary. Well, Trump has had Secret Service staying at his, resorts, hotels, condos, whatever for the last 4 years, and it's been pocketing all that, that cash. So it's one of those things. He does one thing here, but then something else here. And so the reason why Trump probably had to do this is because after the insurrection, no one outside of the government will touch former Trump officials. So how this usually works, and another way how the swamp works, is that people leave the White House and then they go work for Fortune 500 companies and all of a sudden have connections for those Fortune 500 companies within the government or potentially the incoming administration. And now, after the insurrection, a lot of people won't touch them. And so now they're trying to find government jobs by revoking this lobbying ban, which, good luck with that one there, buddy. But I am happy that this is the last official act of bullshit from the now former president. I kind of look forward to a day when I won't have to report on Trump any longer. And with no Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, or Spotify, if Trump wanted to release a mixtape, we probably won't be hearing from the now former president anytime soon. And I am very, very happy for that. Hey, welcome to the show. If you are just tuning in, very much appreciate having here. We're here to talk some politics. This is Citizen Pete, and hope you're enjoying a nice drink. I mean, that's kind of what we do on this show. They always say don't drink and talk politics, but it is what it is. But yes, thank you so much for watching and tuning in to Citizen Pete. Now, this next story here is a little bit of a shocker, but hey, that's what we talk about. So has anyone ever out there ever cheated or lied on their resume? Yeah, there's small things like claiming maybe you're fluent in something when maybe you're more of a novice. Maybe I've done that here and there, saying, hey, I know this program or this machine, and really I only kind of know it. I'm not an expert in it. But hey, we, it's not that big of a deal. And then there's big lies like claiming to be black when you're not.
Are you African American?
I don't understand the question.
It all came crashing down for NAACP Spokane president Rachel Dolezal, who has been portraying herself as a black woman for the past 10 years. Confronted by a reporter, her parents are now calling her out. Ruth Ann and Lawrence Dolezal say their 37-year-old daughter is white.
Yeah, I don't know how to break this to Rachel, but being black might not help you get a job as much as you'd think. Just trust me on that one. But an even bigger lie would be lying to the American people about being accepted to the Naval Academy so you can win an election. In November 2020, 25-year-old Madison Hawthorne won the 11th Congressional District in North Carolina to become one of the youngest members to ever serve in Congress. 25, I'm like, man, I'm really doing some things wrong. I'm in my 30s. I should be in Congress right now. Anyway, he did so by lying about being accepted into the Naval Academy. See, he told a heartbreaking story about how he was accepted but had to turn it down after he was paralyzed in a car crash. Well, thanks for the magic of the internet, we can confirm that that is not exactly how it went down. In sworn testimony, after the crash, he was asked, okay, but at some point in time, you were notified by the Naval Academy that you did not get in. Hawthorne answered, yes, sir. Okay, but did you know about that? But do you know about when that was? I don't, sir. Was it before the accident? It was. A lying politician. Shocking, right? Just shocking. Who would have seen that coming? But hey, when it comes to lying, Hawthorne was just getting started.
My friends, I encourage you, continue to make your voice heard, because do we love Donald Trump? But my friends, we're not doing this just for Donald Trump. We are doing this for the Constitution.
Yeah, he said that right before they stormed the Capitol. And as we learned with anything with that riot, lying about something like elections or voter fraud can have some very, very real consequences. And again, I know a lot of you out there are probably like, oh, someone lied in Congress. What a shocker there. Who really saw that coming? Well, here's the thing. On Citizen Pete, I don't want someone to just be able to lie and get away with it and no one talk about it. So, hey, I'm going to call out as much lying bullshit as I possibly can. And I'd appreciate it if you like the page, subscribe, leave me a comment, and hey, if you see other people lying and doing bullshit out there, let me know. Maybe I'll feature it on the show. Yep, welcome back. Have a nice little sip there. Hope you guys are having a nice little Wednesday night. There's a lot to drink about and celebrate tonight. Very big day for America indeed. And so this next one might get me into a little bit of trouble, because I've realized that, especially with some posts on Twitter today, that you can't say anything good about Trump at all. or people will freak out. And I'll be honest, I think Trump doesn't get enough credit for the good things he's done. There. I've said it. And for anyone that goes crazy, I'm sorry. And, for real, the bad, it just outweighs the good with Trump. It's not that Trump is just, he is probably the most horrible president ever. And it's hard to say he's done good things like, when there's 400,000 Americans dying from a virus that he did not, do a very good job of containing or doing much on. But hey, with Trump, the bad outweighs the good, but there is still some good there. He's done good things for medical billing. Like he's basically made it impossible for medical companies to keep their records sealed so people can kind of compare and contrast costs at different hospitals in an effort to try to find fraud. That's a good thing. He also signed a bill to help stop sex trafficking by shutting down websites like Backpage where victims were sold online. That's a good thing. But then he dumb shit like pardon war criminals or let the pandemic, again, run out of control. So again, Trump has done a lot more bad than good, but there is still, some good there. But, it seems that Trump maybe has come through on one of his biggest campaign promises.
And some of the biggest American companies also taking action. JP Morgan, Citigroup are suspending all political donations after the Capitol riots. Meanwhile, Marriott and Blue Cross Blue Shield are halting donations to Republicans who voted against certifying Joe Biden's election victory.
Yes, if you were horrified by the storming of the U.S. Capitol last week, you're apparently not alone, as some of the largest companies in America are pulling back on their political contributions following the Capitol violence. AT&T, Marriott, J.P. Morgan Chase, Coca-Cola, didn't know they were so big into political advertising, but apparently they are, and Charles Schwab. So if you're banking with Charles Schwab, they're ending all political donations and shutting down their political action committee. So hey, the question is, as more and more are pulling their political contributions to politicians who supported Trump's baseless election fraud claims and helped fuel the fire of the insurrection attempt, did that in a way actually help to drain the swamp and political advertising? Especially folks where I'm looking at guys like you, Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, and 140 other congressional representatives, and they have basically been cut off from funding from major companies. So in a weird, twisted way, did Trump actually drain the swamp? Again, a lot of how these folks, if you're not familiar with how some politics works, a lot of these folks, they basically maintain their political power because they'll basically say, okay, you do what I want you to do in Congress, or I'll make sure that you won't get funds for your next election. If you, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tulsi Gabbard, but she went on Joe Rogan's podcast a few years ago. And she talked about, when she first got to Congress, she was told, one of the first things she was told was, whatever you do, don't work with the other side. That'll be a problem. And unfortunately, she had to listen to that because Nancy Pelosi controls the purse there as a major member of the Democratic Party. They'll cut off campaign funds to you if you don't do what they want you to do. And so maybe, for at least a week, because this isn't gonna last long, Trump may have actually done something to drain the swamp. At least on the Republican side. I mean, let's be honest. The swamp is not dead. The swamp is there, and they will be back as soon as some of this, some of the stuff with the Capitol riots have blown over. But hey, I'll give Trump just a little bit of credit. Just a little bit of credit. What can I say? I'm an optimist. I'm a silver linings type of guy. It is what it is. But at least for a tiny little bit, maybe Trump actually did help drain the swamp. Just for a little bit. Again, it's not going to last. And again, I think Trump is the worst president of all time. But hey, even a broken clock is right, twice a day. as we check in for the last story of the evening, I'd like to give a quick thank you, quick shout out to the folks out there still watching, still hanging out with me. Yeah, man, I do really appreciate you guys watching and checking out this stream here. It's been interesting doing a political show nowadays. I kind of in some ways I feel like I got to the party a little late. I was just watching, the Secular Talk, which is a really good show on YouTube if you haven't checked it out. But one of the things they talked about is how it's harder for political shows to actually kind of gain traction now. Unfortunately, because there's been so much misinformation on the internet, YouTube's policy has been to only show people stuff from registered, verified sources. So back in the day, a channel like mine would have gotten recommended by CNN, or if you watch a CNN video, or MSNBC or Fox News or whatever, you watch any political video, and they'd recommend my channel because they're like, hey, you like politics? This guy talks politics. You guys should get together. But unfortunately, with all the misinformation out there, they've basically tamped down on that. So I'm kind of like fighting against the YouTube algorithm. But I kind of do this show just because I love doing the show. I mean, I love talking politics, and it's nice to have an outlet to do that and be creative. So again, I very much appreciate for people sticking by and still checking out the show. Thank you very, very much. And so for our last story, it is official. Trump and his supporters' legal challenges are done. Absolutely done. And again, if him taking off on Air Force One didn't kind of give you that sign that, okay, he's done challenging the results of the 2020 election, the kraken has officially been put back to the depths from whence it came. And Sidney Powell is throwing in the towel on her election fraud claims. So yeah, Sidney Powell, if you are not familiar, is one of Trump's craziest, one of the craziest people on Trump's legal team, which is saying something considered Rudy Giuliani is on that same legal team as well. And she has officially withdrawn her lawsuit over the 2020 election. Now, the lawsuit accused that Dominion was switching votes, and even made the claim that Hugo Chavez, who died in 2013, was somehow involved in all of this. I mean, she basically was saying that Hugo Chavez created this technology to tamp down on elections in his own country. And just some crazy bullshit. See for yourself.
What we are really dealing with here and uncovering more by the day is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela, Cuba, and likely China in the interference with our elections here in the United States. The Dominion voting systems, the Smartmatic technology software, and the software that goes in other computerized voting systems here as well, not just Dominion, were created in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez.
Again, Hugo Chavez. I mean, she knows he's dead, right? Everything about this whole election fraud case, if you've been actually following this, I mean, I think mainstream media has kind of tuned out to this whole thing because they didn't want to promote this chaos, but I've been watching it quite a bit, and, I was very shocked a couple weeks ago when right-wing folks and conservative media really kind of flipped the script.
Newsmax has found no evidence that either Dominion or Smartmatic owns the other or has any business association with each other. We have no evidence that Dominion uses Smartmatic software or vice versa. No evidence has been offered that Dominion or Smartmatic used software or reprogrammed software that manipulated votes in the 2020 election.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like it was written by a lawyer, because it probably was written by a lawyer. And I've actually been waiting to do this for a long time, as I can reach back into the Citizen Pete archives and use a clip, and I reported on this myself a few weeks ago. Hidden in that CNN article I was reading about this supposed screwing match in the Oval Office is a report about White House staffers being told to hold on to all of their documents. See, Trump and his team have been making some pretty wild claims about companies like Dominion and Smartmatic, and those companies are starting to fight back. Yeah, the headline for that article was, "Will Trump declare martial law?" which obviously is something huge. It's going to gain a lot of people's attention, right? But the really interesting part of that article was that Trump's campaign had been ordered to preserve documents because they were in some real deep legal shit. See, the thing is, Dominion was a little tired of being shit on with little to no evidence and decided to file a lawsuit. They're now suing Sidney Powell for $1.3 billion. It's a lot of money. A lot of money she probably does not have. And I'm not a lawyer, but Powell may be about to lose a lot of money herself. And so we can say officially that the kraken has been sent back to the depths from which it came. And honestly, I'm hoping that, if there's one thing we can take away from this whole saga, it's that, we can't just let people lie and say things and get away with whatever they want to, because there are some real consequences there. Unfortunately, I think, there's been a lot of talk about censorship with Parler getting shut down, Trump losing his Twitter account, and a question of is it censorship? Honestly, I think it's the free market correcting itself to avoid more regulations from the federal government now that Biden is in office. But there's a real question we're going to have to say, kind of going forward here is, what is big tech's role in allowing some of these, these kind of crazy misinformation things to continue? Like, it'd be nice to say, okay, let's shut down Sidney Powell initially and, stop her from making all these crazy claims. But, should we, if there's a claim that is correct, should we shut that down too? If back in the day, before the Iraq war, he said, if I said there's no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, I probably would get canceled too. And so now we have to figure out what's that balance between truth and misinformation and question the government and all that stuff kind of going forward. But for today, I will take some solace in knowing that Sidney Powell is officially, shutting down the kraken. Well, all right, y'all, that is a wrap on the show. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks so much for subscribing. Again, if you haven't already, subscribe on Twitter. I'd very much appreciate it, man. It is kind of funny. The last show, I didn't know I had that many people watching, and then all of a sudden I had a lot of people subscribing on Twitter. I even have the live shows on Twitter, which you can, myself. I don't know, I just kind of think that's a little funny. But anyway, as I have mentioned before, thank you so much for watching Citizen Pete Live. I can't tell you how much I appreciate people checking in, hearing what I have to say about politics. I mean, I'm just a guy who loves politics and, wants to talk about it, and I'm not tied to any agenda. I'm a moderate. I mean, I kind of feel like moderate voices just don't exist anymore. Because unfortunately, the social media and how their algorithms, they want to push the loudest voices on the left and on the right. And in a lot of ways, I feel like folks in the middle, people who are kind of like rational, kind of middle of the track kind of folks. I mean, that's where a majority of the country is at. It might seem like, okay, there's a lot of folks who are, we're very partisan now, and we are. I mean, we're very partisan now. But the loudest voices on the left and the right seem to be kind of dominating the conversation, and I wanted to kind of throw my hat in the ring a little bit, and hey, let's see what the middle has to say. But we'll see how it goes. But again, thank you so much for watching the show. Very much appreciated. I will be back on Friday. Not sure if it'll be as long of a show, but I will be back Friday. And so set your DVRs and or YouTubes, and I'll see y'all real soon.